I'm going to talk about something that's usually swept under the rug when we talk about history, especially when it comes to heroes. We all love the heroic tales history gives us, especially the big victories, like how those Filipino settlers, the Manilamen, played a crucial role in the Battle of New Orleans. We celebrate their bravery, their contribution, but let's be real. Life isn't always about shiny medals and perfect stories. I'm talking about how they lived through hardships. And when you're good at something and you're struggling, sometimes you get pulled into these things that aren't exactly on the up and up. It was risky, it was dangerous, but for some of them, it was a way to survive. I mean, can we blame them? You've likely heard the name Jean Lafitte and perhaps even the claim that the Manila men were part of his crew. But while the allure of pirates and smugglers is undeniable, the historical record regarding a direct link is surprisingly murky. So, I'm not here to repeat well-worn myths in this video. Instead, I will explore the possibility of their connection through a careful analytical hypothesizing and, most importantly, celebrate their undeniable heroism and skill that secured a crucial American victory. We'll explore the context of the time, the opportunities that arose, and the valuable skills these men brought to the table. Let's unpack the realities and possibilities, separating fact from speculation. So, I've been deep diving into the Battle of New Orleans, and something just isn't adding up. Now, I don't know if you heard the story of Andrew Jackson, Jean Lafitte, in a ragtag army facing off against the British. A quick history lesson here. So, the Battle of New Orleans, 1815, was a final chapter or final major battle of the War of 1812. The British were trying to take control of New Orleans and the Mississippi River. Andrew Jackson led a ragtag American army against them. Now, here's where things get interesting. Jean Lafitte, the famous privateer, and his Baratarian crew, including the skilled Manilamen, played a crucial role. These Filipino sailors, skilled with artillery and naval tactics, were essential in defending the city. They served alongside Jackson's forces, particularly in manning cannons and providing maritime expertise. Their bravery and skill were essential to the American victory, helping to repel the British and secure the city. So there you go. As I was saying before, excuse me, I kept hearing about these Filipino settlers from the Barataria Bay in Louisiana, the Manilamen, fighting alongside them. But here's the thing that's been driving me crazy. When I started researching, I hit a wall. This one group's contribution remains largely obscured. So, my question is, why are they so conspicuously absent from the majority of historical records? So, I've been analyzing this, and it wasn't just about reading what was there, it was about looking for what wasn't there and asking why. First, I had to establish their presence. I spent time digging into the history of St. Malo, tracing those early Filipino settlements. That gave me the first piece of the puzzle. Then, I looked at the context of the battle itself. I studied the makeup of Lafitte's forces, the terrain, the logistics. I asked myself, Who would have been valuable in this situation? I had to consider the limitations of the records. I realized that official accounts often prioritize certain perspectives while others are overlooked. So I had to look beyond the obvious sources. I didn't just accept what I found at face value, I questioned it, I challenged it. I looked for alternative explanations, and what I learned are several factors that likely contributed to this historical silence. So, here's what I've learned. You see, the concept of a unified Filipino identity was not as solidified in the early 19th century as it is today. The Philippines, a Spanish colony, was a diverse archipelago with various ethno-linguistic groups. Individual arriving in places like St. Malo and Barataria may have identified themselves by their specific island or ethnic origin rather than a broader Filipino label. This fragmented identity could have made it harder to trace their presence as a distinct group. The historical records themselves often reflect the biases of their creators. Early historians may have prioritized narratives that aligned with prevailing social and political views, overlooking the contributions of marginalized groups. The Manilamen, being a relatively small and culturally distinct population, may have simply been deemed less significant. Also, the lack of centralized record keeping and the challenges of tracking individuals across vast maritime networks contributed to the difficulty of documenting their presence. Oral histories, while invaluable, were often not considered official historical sources. In essence, the absence of the Manilamen from mainstream historical records is likely a confluence of factors: limited documentation, the complexities of identity formation, historical biases, and the challenges of tracking a dispersed maritime population. Their story serves as a reminder that history is often incomplete and that the search for the silent voices requires a critical examination of the available evidence and a willingness to look beyond the dominant narratives. Barataria Bay was a hub of smuggling and privateering, a world of opportunity and risk. Jean Lafitte and his brother Pierre were involved in smuggling and privateering in the Gulf Coast region. Excuse me. Their activities blurred the lines between legitimate trade and piracy. They operated in an area where maritime activities were often unregulated, and many individuals engaged in opportunistic ventures. Jean Lafitte commanded a diverse crew skilled in navigation, gunnery, and the art of moving goods outside the law. The economic and political climate of the time created a fertile ground for such activities. Skilled sailors like the Manila Man would have been highly valued in this world. The definition of piracy in the early 19th century was often fluid, and activities like privateering, which government sanctioned, could easily blend into piracy. Therefore, it is possible that the Manila men were involved in activities that could be considered piracy, but that those activities were not always considered illegal. By the way, if you're wondering why we keep using the term Manila man, well, Manila man is a more general term, indicating seafarers and traders who came from Manila, a major port city. This term could include individuals from various regions of the Philippines and even other parts of Southeast Asia who were associated with Manila's maritime trade. This made it a more inclusive term. Now, for the Manilamen, think about it. The opportunity for economic gain to the freedom from traditional maritime constraints, the appeal of adventure, these factors could have drawn skilled sailors to Jean Lafitte's ranks. And for men who were already experienced in maritime trade, legal or otherwise, the Baratarian operations would have been a natural fit. But still, we must acknowledge the ambiguity. The challenge of tracing marginalized groups in historical records is immense. But the absence of evidence doesn't necessarily mean the absence of involvement. Also, given their maritime skills, would it be logical for some of the Manilamen to have worked with Lafitte? Could they have served as navigators, shipwrights, or skilled seamen within his fleet? Could they have been involved in the transport of goods legally or illegally? These are questions we can explore even if we can't definitively answer them. We must also address the counterarguments, the potential for cultural and linguistic barriers, the risk associated with piracy and smuggling, and the possible reasons that their participation would not be well documented. This is an exploration of a potential scenario, not a declaration of established fact. As an independent researcher with a deep interest in history, I recognize the inherent limitation of historical records, especially when dealing with those who operated in the shadows. The absence of formal documentation from participants in illegal activities is understandable, and it presents a unique challenge, such as myself and to anyone delving into these areas. Regardless of their potential prior involvement, their heroism is at the Battle of New Orleans is undeniable. They played a vital role in the American victory, demonstrating their skill with artillery and naval tactics. We must honor their contribution to American history. The Battle of New Orleans was a pivotal moment shaping the future of the United States. Without the contributions of the Manilamen and other diverse groups, the outcome of the battle could have been very different. So, we've journeyed into the shadows of history, exploring the lives of the Manilamen, those skilled Filipino sailors who made their mark on Louisiana. We've seen their undeniable heroism in the Battle of New Orleans, a testament to their courage and skill. But we've also delved into the less celebrated aspects of their story, the hardships, the difficult choices, and the possibility of involvement in the shadowy world of Barataria Bay. This whole process shows how important it is to not be afraid to question what we think we know. History is not static, it's a constant process of discovery. And that's what I hope you take away from this, that even when the records are silent, there are ways to find the stories that have been hidden. It just takes a little digging and the willingness to connect the dots. Thank you for joining me on this exploration of the Manila story. If you found this video insightful, please like, share, and subscribe for more historical deep dives. I encourage you to continue your own research and share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's keep the conversation going and continue to uncover the hidden stories that enrich our understanding of the past. Bye for now.